Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So this is a detailed video on how to sew this dress. We already drafted our pattern in the previous video, so this is the sewing video for this dress. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, ensure to keep on watching and let's get down into the video. I'll link the pattern drafting video in the description box or somewhere on the screen right now. So these are the materials I'll be using to make this dress. I have my sewing scissors, I have my measuring tape, I have this pattern that we already drafted in our previous video. I'll link the video on the description box. This is the lace I'll be using, which I changed later on in the video. This is the Ankara fabric I'll be using. I have this wadding I'll be using to pad it. This is the wadding I'll be using to pad it. It's about quarter an inch thick and texture. So I have my stay here. I have my lining piece, the cotton lining I'll be using. So I'll go ahead to transfer our pattern to the fabrics, but before that, let's cut the down part of the dress. So this is the Ankara fabric for the down part. I already folded it in 4 places, just like this. That's me cutting the front and back together using the freehand method, not pattern. So I'll drop the waistline measurement, which is about 18 inches. I'll be dropping 17.5 inches to get the full length of the gown. So that is what I measured there. So on the waistline, I'm just going to come in from the center front, that's that close edge where I kept the zip allowance. I'll come in for the waist measurement divided by 4 plus extra 2 inches that I added there for our sewing allowance. From the waistline, I'll come down by 9.5 inches, which will become our hip line. So on that 9.5 inches, I'll be measuring our hip measurement there. So I impute the hip measurement there plus the necessary allowance, which is the 2 inches allowance I gave. After this, I'll drop the waistline measurement again, which is 17.5, so I can get the half length, which is 36 inches that I marked there. On that half length that I just marked, I'll go ahead to impute the round knee measurements, which is what I'm putting there, plus the 2 inches sewing allowance. I'll extend that same measurement to the down part just this way, and then I'll use the ruler to make it up in a straight line, and then also do the connection for this other hip side, just like using the free hand to just connect it to the hip area. And this is it here for the down part. So we need to shape the zip area. So on that waistline, I'll come out by 1 inch on the zip side, and then on the hip line, I'll come out by 2 inches, and then on that half length, I'll come out by 1.5 inches on the half length area. So this will help me shape the back, just to shape that butt area to make it more comfortable around the back. So I'll drop the waistline to get where I want the slit to stop or the slit to start, and I'll mark 1.5 inches there. I'll go ahead to mark half inch along that slit area, which is the allowance that will enable me to turn the slit area. So I will shape this like so, just the way I'm doing it. So if you have more butts at the back, you can go ahead to come out by 2.5 inches instead of the 2 inches I came out with. So this is it here for the waist area. I'll come down by half inch and then connect it to the waist measurement that we marked there, just to shape the waistline for the front and the back. So this is it here for the front and the back. I'll just go ahead to cut it. So if you observe very well, you will notice the zip area, the way it curves like towards the hip side. So that is the aim of those things I explained earlier. The full length of this gown is 60 inches, so I mark 60 inches there. Then I'm just going to notch that part, that's the remaining 1.5 inches there. So I'm just going to notch it so that when cutting the lining piece, the lining is going to be shorter than the fabric, so we can use it to do a turn up at the down part. So after this, I'm just going to bring in the lining and then go ahead to cut it on it. So this is the lining we are going to use. I'll go ahead to transfer the lining to the skirt part. I've gone ahead to transfer our pattern to fabric, adding necessary allowance where needed. I used half-inch allowance around the dart area. I added 2 inches for the side allowance, and then this is the side back which I cut in black Mikado fabric. So I'll go ahead to iron the stay and the pad to the front and the back. But before that, let us shape the front neckline. So I'm just going to unpin it and then open up the front and use the pattern to place on it. Then go ahead to shape it, or just to shape out that design that we have on the front neckline. So I place the pattern on the front part of the Ankara, then go ahead to shape it out. So this is how I cut the part that I'm going to use to make this dress. So I'm just going to fold it so that I can place the pattern on it and then trace it out. So I'll place it like this on the closed edge. That's for the front side, for the center front. So I'm just going to note the chest line and then the underbust line. So I'm just going to cut this part between the chest line and the underbust line just the way I placed it. Then I'll go ahead to cut it out. And this is it here. So I'm going to repeat the same thing for the side front. But then the side front, I'm going to go up a little bit from the chest line. You can do the same thing for the center front as well. And after cutting it, I'll go ahead to shape it just this way, just to make that curve around the pad. And I'll go ahead to iron them to the main dress. So I've gone ahead to iron the stay and the pad to the dress. So this is it here. I also cut out the chantilly lace I'll be placing on top of the Ankara. So what we need to do now is to go ahead to sew the chantilly lace to this Ankara, and after that we're going to join the pad. The same thing we're going to do for the back area. Sew it to the Ankara and then place the side back to like this, and then go ahead to join it for the other side back. So I'll head over to the sewing machine to show you how to join the front pad. And guys, this is it here. So to join this front pad, we're just going to place it this way and start sewing using that half-inch allowance we gave while transferring the pattern to fabric. And I'll sew along that area just this way. Ensure that you're sewing neatly, and then the underbust line is matching each other. Same thing with the bust point line. They are all matching each other. Sew carefully while you are turning, or while you are just turning it just this way that I'm doing, just to get that curve very well. And ensure that at the end of the sewing, both the side front and the side back is matching each other just this way. So this is it here when I am done sewing it. I did my back stitching, and this is the bust area looking so cupped. So I'll go ahead to repeat the same thing for this other side front, and then I'll sew it just the way I did for the other one. And this is the outcome of our Princess Dart Bustier that we did, looking all nice, beautiful. Even without ironing, it's already standing this way. So I'll just go ahead to iron the seams, like press the seams open, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm just going to press those seams open. Use your bust arm to do that, and this is it here when I am done doing that, looking so nice. Yeah, it really coped well. I went ahead to do the same thing for the lining piece, which is this one. I've also gone ahead to join the back side, which is this. So I also did the same thing for the lining for the back, and this is it here. So what we need to do now is to turn our lining and the fabric together. So I'm just going to place it right side facing each other just this way, and I'll go ahead to stitch along this side using half-inch allowance, and also at the side. So I'm not going to turn the armhole area. I'm just going to stitch around the zip side and the side back. So for the front piece, I'm just going to stitch around here, the neckline area, the sides, and leaving the armhole area open. And this is it here when I was done doing that. This is the inside of it, looking all neat and nice. I also left the armhole area open just like I explained, and the back, look at it here, looking nice as well. So what we need to do next is just to go ahead to bring in the down part, that's the skirt part. This is it here. So I'm just going to turn the skirt part, that's the lining piece, to use to turn the main piece. So I'm just going to place the front piece this way, open it up like this. I went ahead to cut chantley lace for the front down part, that's the skirt parts. I went ahead to cut chantley lace for it. Just, make it in a slanted form, just this way I did, and that's all. Nothing so much serious. And I'll place the lining piece front facing front, that's the right side facing each other, just this way. And I'll go ahead to sew the down part first. I told you that the lining piece for the skirt part is going to be shorter than the main piece, that's shorter than the Ankara piece. So I'm just going to place it like so, and go ahead to stitch around that area. And after that, I will bring up the lining to match up to the waistline and stitch it around the sides just the way I am showing you. And I'll do the same thing for the zip area, that's the back side. And this is it here when I was done doing all of those things, looking nice and beautiful. If you notice at the hem part, that's the down part of the dress, you notice that the lining piece is shorter and the main dress entered into the back area. So I'm just going to notch where is the midpoint for the skirt part. So I'll notch it there, and then to the upper part, that's the front side, I'll also notch it. So we need to join the upper part of this of dress to the skirt part, that the top part will be joining to the skirt part. So I'm just going to notch that center as well, just to note the center. So I'll place the top part on the skirt part just this way, and you can go ahead to use half-inch allowance to stitch around this side, or you can do this neat inseam finishing I normally do for my dresses. So I'm just going to put my hand through the armhole area and then turn it this way, and then go ahead to ensure that that notched part we did for the skirt and the top part is matching each other just the way I am placing it. So after placing all of them all together just this way, you can go ahead to either start from the notched part and sew all the way to this other side and continue on the other side, or you can use your pin to hold it down before going ahead to sew it. Either which way can work for you perfectly. So I'll go ahead to sew along that area, and I'll also do the same thing for the back. So I'll just bring in the back and do the same thing I did for the front to the back piece, coming from the armhole area and then turn it. And this is it here when I was done sewing all of those things I explained earlier. So this is the inside part of it, looking all nice. Don't you like the look on the inside? Also to the back, I did the same thing. And what we need to do now is to join the bag together and then install our zipper. So I'm just going to place the bag just this way, right side facing each other, and using the 1 inch allowance for the zip area, I'm going to use this zip and join it. So I'm just going to measure where the zip is going to stop and then mark it down there. and from that place I marked down, I'm going to come in by 1 inch and sew it all the way to the slit part. So I'm just going to come in by 1 inch and go ahead to sew it all the way to the slit part, just the way I marked down, and go ahead to also impute the or install our zipper on it. And this is it here, guys. When I was done doing that, look at how neat the zipper area is. So this is that hip curve that we did at the back side. So what we need to do now is to join the shoulders for this dress. So just going to place the shoulder like this. I'm going to use the back shoulder to turn the front shoulder, just the way I am flipping them. So I'll sew around that area using 1/2 inch allowance I gave, and then same thing I'm going to do for this other shoulder. So we need to cut the sleeve, and I folded the fabric in two like this. Is double there. So I'm just going to measure the length, which is about 20 inches. I added 1 inch for the sewing allowance. I came in by 2.5 inches at that top part, and I'll come down by 4 or 3.5 inches. And then I'm just going to measure or mark our round sleeve at that place and add the necessary allowance. So if you've been cutting sleeve on this channel with me, you know that this is the freehand method I use in cutting my sleeve. So I'm just going to come down to the elbow, that's the shoulder to elbow for the sleeve, and mark the measurements required there. Then I'm just going to mark it also here for the down part of the sleeve, that's the hem of the sleeve. Remember, there will be flare around the sleeve part, and I'll cut it just this way. I'll notch the center sleeve, and then I'll go ahead to cut the down part. This is the down part, that's the flare for the down of the sleeve. I'm just going to fold it in 4 places, just like folding my fabric in 4 places, just like this. What we are going to cut here is 90-degree flare, so I'm just going to ensure that the fabric is enough to cut the 90-degree flare. So from that closed edge, I'm just going to come down by 2 inches, and then from that side I'll also mark the length of the sleeve, which is 10 inches. So I'm marking 2 inches and 12 inches. That's minus the 2 inches I'm going to cut out from the 12 inches, which is 10 inches for the sleeve length. So that's what I'm marking there. And after that, I'm just going to connect all the points that I've made to meet each other, just like this. Give it that curvy look. And this is it here for our freehand flare cutting. So this is it here when I was done cutting it out. So what we need to do now is to bring in the sleeve and join it together. So this is the sleeve. I'm just going to place it like this and go ahead to sew along that side and do the same thing for the other side. And this is it when I was done joining the sleeve. So we need to join our sleeve now to the main dress, and this is it here when I'm going to join it to the main dress. So I'm just going to place that notched part on the shoulder line, just the way I'm doing it, and then go ahead to sew to this other end and to this other end. And this is it here when I was done attaching the sleeve to the main dress. This is how neat it looks. You can go ahead now to interlock it, that's to weave the armhole area. So we need to join the dress right now. So I'll be starting from the sleeve to join it. I'll use about 1/2 inch allowance to join it on the flare area, and then to the main sleeve I'm just going to use the main measurement for the dress for the sleeve, the round sleeve measurement, to join it. And when it gets to the armhole area, I'm just going to use 1 inch allowance to join it, or you can go ahead to do your normal measurements, ensuring that the waistline is matching each other. Normally I do start from the waistline to join it before going ahead to the sleeve to join it to meet to the waistline, so that I will ensure that the waistline matches up, not the one that after joining the waistline will be different from the other way. That's the back waistline will be different from the front waistline. So ensure that you're joining it perfectly. I will go ahead to do this and show you the full dress. And this is a dress here on mannequin looking so beautiful. Ensure to like this video, leave a comment below, share, subscribe, and bye.